Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a very good afternoon. I hope you all are safe, healthy, and happy. Am I audible and visible to all of you? Can you hear me? Can you see me? How can we improve our percentile to 99%? Okay, nice question. I also was thinking of making a video on that. I actually have a video on that. How can you improve your percentile to 99%? What is your present percentile, beta? What is your present percentile? Tell me. See, if your present percentile is somewhere around the range of 95, 96, 97.8, okay, 97.8, okay. Today I'll also tell you some strategies that you must apply. Quick 5-10 minutes, I will tell you some strategies of what I have learned, how you can improve it to higher percentile. Well, basically, your exam is for 3 hours, right? The last 15 minutes you don't count, so your exam effectively reduces to 2 hours and 45 minutes. Now, when your exam reduces to 2 hours and 45 minutes, now how do you attempt the paper? You must remember how you attempt the paper, and the only strategy that I have is keep on doing the same thing over and over again. What do you mean by keep on doing the same thing over and over again? That you do as many papers as possible till the last day. Say, for example, your exam is on 26th. So till about 22nd, that means day after tomorrow, 22nd to 23rd, you must finish giving all your exams, as many exams as possible. 23rd, you stop. 22nd, 23rd, you stop. And then you start to look at the books, and you only do that part which you think that you have a confusion. What I used to do in my time, I started studying for JEE in the 11th standard, and I cleared it in a drop year. I also cleared it in the first attempt. My rank was 3000 something, which was not good. I stopped studying 7 days before the exam. I stopped studying, and in those 7 days, what I used to do, I used to relax. I used to listen to music, watch some TV. That time there was no Star TV, there was only Doordarshan. I used to listen to some TV, music, and then in between for 1 hour, 2 hour, I just used to see whatever topics I thought in my mind that maybe that question and in that topic I am confused with. There were lots of questions that was going around in my head. I had solved Rodov 2 or 3 times, but still there were too many questions. If I talk about physics, too many questions that were in my head. Yes, 3000. I think now it's a good rank. Beta, in my times, it was not such a good rank. In my times, it was not such a good. In my time, my friend of mine got 720 rank, and he got the branch which he was not expecting. He was expecting a much better branch. He got chemical engineering in IIT Bombay, and that was at our time not a good branch. To get a good branch in our times, it was somewhere around 500. You had to get somewhere around 500. There were only 5 IITs. For me, the IITs are still 5. What are those 5 IITs which I considered IITs? Because they were IITs when I gave the IIT. Kanpur, Delhi, Kharagpur, Chennai, and Bombay. These are the 5 IITs which I think are IITs. The rest of them are all made up. Anyways, so to get a 99 percentile, 99.9, 99.8, last year also 2 students got it. Last year 1 student got it, the other one also got it. What you got to do is attempt your paper in the best possible way. Make use of that 2 hours and 45 minutes, not the 15 minutes at the end of the day, because that is not of any use. That 15 minutes is gone. So don't count that 15 minutes. Now, in the first 40 to 45 minutes, you must be attempting chemistry, which should be your strongest topic. Which should be your strongest topic, and it is a subject in which you can score marks quickly. So you must be scoring marks quickly. Now, out of the 25 questions that you have, an average student, like you said, beta 97.8 you got. So you must be able to crack somewhere around 22 to 23 questions in that 40 to 45 minutes. You must be able to crack somewhere around 22 to 23 questions. 20 to 23 questions you must be able to crack. Out of those 22, 23 questions, the maximum number of questions that could be wrong should be only one or two. So effectively, your number of correct questions will be 20 and maybe one or two wrong answers. That's it. That is what I am counting on. So that will take you in the higher percentages of the students over there. Then after 40, 45 minutes, you must move on to the second best topic that you have. Second best topic, maybe physics, maybe math. You can again spend 1 hour on that topic, physics or chemistry, physics or maths, 1 hour, spend 1 hour. If you're good in physics, you must be able to attempt 22 to 23 questions as you are attempting in chemistry. You maybe the wrong ones will be more here, maybe two or three, but still around 19, 19, 18 to 19 question, I think a normal student can get them. Coming to maths, last one, you can give an hour. Again, you can attempt around 20 to 22 questions. Which topics you must be studying? Which topic you must be studying in physics? I'll tell you about physics. I can't tell you about chemistry or maths. Which topic for JEE means that you should study to get higher percentile? Okay, I will tell you which topic not to study first. Which topic not to study? Rotation, leave it. Don't study rotation. You will not be able to solve the question if it comes. Just study the simple definitions of rotation. Angular, what is angular momentum? What is linear momentum? How do you find angular momentum from linear momentum? How do you find torque? What is the relationship between torque and angular momentum? This is good enough. Just do that question of that ball which is rolling down the plane. Good enough. Apart from that, do not spend time on rotation. In fact, not only rotation, the entire mechanics which we are doing right now, we cannot be very confident of mechanics when it comes in the examination hall, because you might get stuck. Whether it's JEE mains or JEE advanced, you might get stuck. So mechanics is the least important topic in mechanics. What you can do, and which I had also tried to do more questions, units and dimensions. I did not do units and dimensions because I thought that you will be good enough for that. Units and dimension, you should do nicely. Motion in 1D, motion in 2D. That's why we did lots of questions. This NLM, it will hardly come maybe one question in a day. That's why we did not do so many questions on NLM. Work by energy is easy. Work by energy, you should be able to do it. Work by energy in circular motion, you should be able to do it if it comes. Collision, hardly you will be able to do it. If it is a straightforward question, you can do it. If it's a typical question, collision, you will not be able to do it. So don't waste your time on collision. Gravitation, yes. If a question comes in gravitation, you have to solve it. Simple harmonic motion, the question will be pretty damn simple. It will be based on simple motion of this block or just simple motion. It would be a simple question in simple harmonic motion. They will ask you to find out the time period or maybe amplitude, or maybe on one block the other thing will come and take, and then you will have to find the new amplitude. The question on simple harmonic motion should be simple. Then comes your fluids. Fluids ka question is going to be an easy one if it is not from surface tension or from viscosity. Surface tension, if you will have the most difficult question if it comes. So if you are not very sure with the fluid, forget about surface tension. But you must do fluid statics, fluid dynamics. You must be able to do question of Bernoulli's theorem, one of the easiest in ever to have come. But surface tension, it would be a tricky question. If you're not very thorough with it, don't do surface tension. Fluid statics, you must be able to do it. Properties of matter, elasticity, there can be a question from elasticity or viscosity. I think elasticity, viscosity is also easy. If you have done some question in Erodov for viscosity, that is more than enough. 2 or 3 questions are there in Erodov. If you have done those conical wala question, and that cone is rotating inside that, and find the velocity gradient. If you've done those questions, well, you have done viscosity. Viscosity, the question would be simpler, you can do it. Surface tension, you cannot. Coming on to waves again is a tricky topic. If you're good with waves, if you're good with sound waves, you can attempt a question on sound waves. Else, the question should be based somewhere in the range of finding the equation of this wave. Or yes, I know, but you have 5 days to left, 5 days left. But I'm just telling you what all things that you can do now. What all topics that you can do now. Units and dimension, 1D, 2D. You can have a look at gravitation. We'll do gravitation here. Whatever I do, I will do it in 40 days. Whatever I'm doing, just do that much. Gravitation, SHM, fluids, forget about surface tension. You might not be able to do question of that. Waves, it is sound waves, do it. Electrostatics, electric current, you must be very thorough with it. Electromagnetic induction, magnetic effects of current, you must be very thorough with it. You should be able to do it. Then modern physics, you should be able to do all the questions. Then comes your semiconductors, your communication system, and your practical physics. There would be 2 or 3 questions from those topics, because those topics are only in JEE mains, which I'm not very good at. There must be 3 questions there in semiconductors, communication, modern physics. There would be 4 to 5 questions from these 3 topics, and they will be pretty damn simple. You should be able to attempt those questions. Magnetism, there will be a question. Magnetism is purely based on theory. If you can remember things, magnetism is one topic that you can do it at bar magnet thing, because that bar magnet thing is only in JEE mains. It is not in JEE advanced. So topics which are there in JEE mains, sometimes they come more, but now with NTA coming and with so many attempts, your case, you might get more questions from mechanics, you might get less questions from electrostatics. So it's all a jiggery piggy thing. But what I've told you is what you should not do. Optics, you should do wave optics. What should not do? You should not rely on mechanics at all. You should not rely on surface tension. You should not rely so much on waves. 12th May, everything is simple. Any topic from 12th standard, you should be able to crack it, whether it is JEE mains or it is JEE advanced. Anything else you want me to clarify on? And again, time management. Time management. Remember, in JEE mains, you don't have to clear subject cutoffs. You only have to score maximum marks. So if you can score 25 out of 25 questions in chemistry, do it. Even if it takes 1 hour, do it. Even if it takes 1 hour, 15 minutes, do it. So everything depends on your strategy. You think you are weakest in physics, do it at the end of this. If you think you are strongest in chemistry, do it at the first. And try to get the maximum marks in the beginning of your session. From 0 hours to 1.5, 2 hours, you should be able to get your maximum marks. Because after that, after 2 hours, when you see only 1 hour remaining, you will start to panic. So give your best in the first 2 hours of the exam. First 2 hours, if you give your best, if in first 2 hours you have attempted somewhere around 40 to 42 questions, maybe 35 to 40 questions, you have done well. 35 to 40 questions in the first 2 hours, that should be your aim. If you get to that figure, that means you have done this question correctly, because you would have spent some time on it. You would have chosen the best question that you know to answer. First 2 hours, 35 to 40 questions, at least. Then you are in a good space. You should be able to get into those 99, 98, 99 in those percentiles. And it depends on how many questions you are getting wrong. Try not to make stupid mistakes. Okay. I think that is good enough for you to make something out of it. If you have any other doubt, Dikshita, you can Dikshit. If you have any other doubt, Dikshit, you can ask me through the group. I would be very keen to help you out. Anything? JEE mains is just around the corner, so I hope even 97.5.8 will get you cleared probably, but then you will have to put in more efforts for your advance. In the last class, we were discussing Newton's law. In this class, we'll be discussing friction first, and then we'll move on to some questions. Friction, you must have heard about normal contact force. You must have heard about contact force. There's a difference. Whenever two bodies are kept in contact, they exert force on each other. Those forces are known as contact forces. Now, this contact force will not be perpendicular to the two bodies. This can go in any direction. Now, this contact force, as you can see over here, can be resolved into 2 components. One is along the plane. One is perpendicular to the plane. The perpendicular component is known as normal reaction force, and the parallel component is known as friction. You must be aware of this. So if someone asks you what is the total reaction force or total contact force, the total reaction or total contact force is root over f square plus n square. You must be aware of it. Okay. 2 types of frictions, kinetic and static. You must remember 2 things. In friction, what is the value of friction? Kinetic friction is always constant. The value is mu k multiplied by n. Are we all aware of it? Must be aware of it. Please raise your hand so that I can just keep on going without asking you. Are you aware of this kinetic friction force? It is always constant. And the direction of this kinetic friction is always opposite to the direction of relative motion. Remember, And a very important term is relative motion. Friction does not oppose motion. Friction only opposes relative motion. Mu k into n. Now this value is constant. It does not depend on the surface area of contact. So if you have this mobile kept like this, or you have mobile kept like this, or you have mobile kept like this, or like this, the frictional force remain constant. It is independent of the area unless and until by changing area you are changing the two surfaces. If one side you have cement ka surface and the other side you have wood ka surface, obviously because of the change in surface, friction will change. Else friction does not depend on the area of contact. Remember it, it might come in your exam and you will get 4 marks out of it. What is the direction of kinetic friction of on an object? The direction of kinetic friction on an object will always be such that the most important term is relative motion. Friction does not oppose motion. In fact, it is because of friction that we can walk. I hope you know that. If your car is stuck in mud, it will not move because there is no friction for the tires to move the car. Okay, so direction of two things, direction and magnitude. Magnitude does not depend on area. Constant. Direction is always opposite to the direction of relative motion. You might get stuck in this relative motion in your rotation wala chapter. Never trust rotation. Rotation will always deceive you. Okay. These are simple questions. You will not get to solve this question. This is example number 5. It's a very simple question based on kinetic friction. What is this question? Let us just have a look. Let us just find out the distance traveled by the block on the inclined plane before it stop. Initial velocity of the block is given. Coefficient of friction is given. So basically, you know the initial velocity. You have to find out when it stops. The final velocity will be equal to 0. You must know what is the value of acceleration. How do you get the value of acceleration in this question? Tell me fatafat. Because these are the type of questions that are coming these days. And you must be very thorough with it. How will you get the acceleration of this block? To find the acceleration, you have to find the value of friction force. To find the value of friction force, you must know the normal reaction. Normal reaction is mg cos 37 multiplied by mu. You get the direction of the value of friction. What will be the direction of friction? The body is moving up, so the direction of friction will be opposite. In the same case, mg sin theta is also coming here. So mg sin theta plus mu mg cos theta will be equal to ma. From here, you will get the value of acceleration. They have asked how much is the distance traveled. So you can use v square is equal to u square plus 2as. V0, you know, a, you can calculate the value of s. Do we understand this? Do we understand this question? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Okay, Dikshit. Now, okay, this is the same question. I think this we also can do. Find the acceleration of the block. You should be able to do this. Static friction. Static friction. But this is the friction that troubles a lot of us. Now, what is the problem with this static friction? What is the problem with this static friction? Now, this static friction will also trouble you in the chapter known as rotation, which is my favorite chapter. I told you I can teach you for 2 years and still not run out with problems. Problem with static friction is it is a variable friction. What do you mean by variable friction? That it can adjust. It's I call it intelligent friction. It is intelligent friction. It can adjust itself. It can adjust its value and it can adjust its direction. It can adjust both. Now, when the static friction comes into the picture, when there is no relative motion between the two bodies, but there is a tendency of relative motion. The most important word here is tendency of relative motion. We call it impending motion. Some people call it impending motion. There is a tendency of relative motion. Wherever there is a tendency of relative motion, but there is no relative motion, the friction that stops it or the friction that comes into the picture is known as static friction, which is an intelligent friction because it can change its magnitude as well as its direction depending on how the motion is supposed to happen. It can change its magnitude. It can also change its direction. Now, there is a very nice example that I could have given you, but I hope that you know the nuisance of that. So I'll just forget it. Direction of static friction will be such that there is wherever there is a tendency, it must be opposite to the tendency. So if you have a block like this and your block like this kept, it is not moving, but it has a tendency to move downwards. It has a tendency to move downwards, therefore the frictional force would be upward. Do we understand this? Do we agree on this? If I keep a block on a rough wedge and I keep it here and the block does not move, that means the block is getting stopped. It has a tendency to go down. So the direction of frictional force will be upward. Do we agree on this? Can I have some raised hand that we agree on this? Now, can there be anything? Is there any case possible where this static friction can come downwards? Could be pointing downwards. What can I do? Is there a case possible where I can make this static friction to go downwards? It is. If I, for example, let me just say that the downward force which is trying to pull it is 50 newtons. Let us say that downward force which is trying to pull it is 50 newtons. I applied an upward force which is equal to 25 newtons. In this case, this block has a tendency to go down. If it is not going down, someone is stopping it. If someone is stopping it, that has to be friction. It has to be backwards. Are we getting this? We call this case as impending motion downwards. The impending motion of this body is downwards. Do we understand this? Now, I can keep on increasing the value of this 25 newtons. I can keep on increasing the value of this 25 newton, make it 30, make it 35, make it 40, make it 45. Depending on how much the value of this upward force is increasing, the value of this static friction will keep on increasing. Do we agree on this or not? Do we agree on this or not? If I keep on increasing the value of this 50 Newton is basically mg sine theta. So I'm not going to change this mg sine theta, but I'm going to change this upward force, which I'm trying to pull it up. If I keep on changing this, the value of static friction will keep on changing. Yes or no? Do you understand this? When I have some raise hand that we understand this. Static friction will keep on increasing because I am changing the upward force. Now, if I make the upward force also equal to 50 newtons, what will be the value of static friction and what will be the direction of static friction? If the upward force is also 50 newtons, the downward force is also 50 newton. Yes, Dikshit, the value of static friction becomes 0. So up till now, what we have seen is the static friction is an intelligent friction and it can change its value. It can change its value. When it was 25 Newton upwards, the upward force, the static friction was 25 newtons. When it was 35 Newton, it became 15 newtons. So it is changing on its value. Can it change its direction also? Can it change its direction also? That is the next question. Yes, you can change it. As soon as I increase the force from 50 newtons and I make it 51 newtons, Now, the upward force is 51 newtons, but the downward force is still 50 newtons. Now, it has a tendency to move. But in which direction is this tendency? This tendency is now in the upward direction. Now, this block is trying to move in the upward direction, but it will not move because now the friction will start to move friction will start to act in the downward direction. Friction will change its direction depending on the impending motion. So we call it impending motion. In first cases, the impending motion was downwards. Now the impending motion is upwards. Depending on in which direction the impending motion is, friction will keep on changing its direction as well as its magnitude. Do we understand this? Can I have raised hands with everyone, from everyone, that the direction of static friction as well as the magnitude of static friction changes. Now, as said here, the magnitude of kinetic friction is always constant. The magnitude of static friction is variable, but it can only reach a maximum value. This F max is known as F limiting, and that is equal to mu s multiplied by n. So wherever you use static friction, be very confident that you never write static friction as limiting friction. Wherever you write static friction, you just write it as Fs. And always consider this as an unknown. This is an unknown because it can change its magnitude. It can also change its direction. Are we getting the point? Are we getting the point? Static friction can change its magnitude. It can also change its direction. That might remind you of the various cases that you might have done in my favorite chapter, rotation, where there was a disc and a ring, and you apply a force on the disc and the ring, and sometimes you find static friction backwards and sometimes you find static friction forwards. Do you remember that? Though probably when the time comes, I probably tell you how to do this. but I will still tell you not to do rotation in the exam because you might land up in trouble. Static friction. This is all because of static friction can change its magnitude as well as its direction. So the value of static friction lies between 0 to a maximum value. That maximum value is known as the limiting friction. We all know this? Yes or no? If you try to draw a graph of something kept on a horizontal surface, the graph will look like this. The body will not move up till your friction reaches the limiting value. Once it reaches the limiting value, the block will start to move, but then the friction will get converted from static to kinetic, and mu k is always less than mu s. So then, with the same force which you were able to start the motion, with the same force, now you will be able to continue on the motion and the body will start to accelerate. I hope you all understand this. You must have gone through these simple things, and these are simple questions. Let me take one where that will see. This is the question 16. The same sort of question that I was asking you. Find the if the angle of inclination is slowly increased, find out the angle at which the block starts moving. How will you do this? If the angle of inclination is, so you must have done this experiment in 11th standard. This is how you find out the value of static friction and kinetic friction in lab. Have you done this question in 11th standard? Find out the value of mu s and mu k. You would be having this what slope, and you would be having ways to change the slope of the ways to change the inclination of the slope, and then you put a block and this block starts to move. Have you done this question? Yes or no? Or probably you would have done this question this way, that on one side you have a block, you can put mass on the block, and on the other side you have a pulley, and then we have one block kept on a surface, and then you put mass on the pulley and the block starts to move. Have you done those experiments in your lab in physics? These are the experiments that tells us how to find the value of mu s and mu n. How will you do this? You have not done, basically because Dikshit, you probably did not go to school for the 2 years. I forgot. Sorry. That's why you probably did not do the experiment. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you keep on changing the angle, what happens? See, if you keep on changing the angle, mg sine theta keeps on increasing. It keeps on increasing. This block always has a tendency to go down. If you keep on increasing the angle, the value of mg sine theta keeps on increasing. The value of mg sine theta keeps on increasing. And when this mg sine theta becomes exactly equal to the maximum value of frictional force, which is the limiting friction, which is mu s into n, after that value, the block will start to move. So that theta will correspond to the angle with which the angle at which the block starts to move. And this angle is also known as angle of repose. Have you heard about this angle? Angle of repose. This is the angle where this block will start to move. This is also known as angle of repose. Have you heard about this angle? Angle of repose, beta. So how we have done this? 0 is less than f, less than mu s. So basically, you will keep on increasing the value of the downward force. When the downward force, which is mg sine theta, becomes equal to the limiting friction, the block will start to move. Do we understand this? And the value of this limiting friction is fixed. It is equal to mu s into n. The value of this n is mg cos theta. So basically, you will get theta as tan inverse mu. So at this angle, tan inverse mu, this block will start to move. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Great. There was a question in my IIT based on this. Not exactly this. There were two blocks, two wedges. One was 60 degree, one was 30 degree, I think, and there two blocks were kept. And the question was, the question will be there. I think I bought that question. And the question was, what is the acceleration of the blocks? And the funny answer was, the system was at rest. There was not kinetic friction, but there was static friction. Yes, Brijesh, tell me. You have any doubt, beta? Want to talk? You can unmute yourself and speak if you want to. Let me see if I have that. I probably would have that question. Just do this question because you might get confused with this one. Top view of a block is shown like this. This is the top view of a block. Find out the acceleration of the block. Find out the acceleration of the block. You might get confused with this question. The same question could be asked that something is kept on a wall, you press it with a wall and you apply a force like this, what will be the acceleration? Same question. This question is done on a horizontal surface, the other question is done on a vertical surface. What will be the acceleration of this block? Anyone? Find out the acceleration of this block. Anyone? What is the acceleration of this block? The block is the force pressing the block? But this is the answer. I don't think the force is pressing the block. I think the block is kept on a horizontal table. That is what I think. My understanding of the question. Block is kept on a horizontal table and you are applying two forces. One along the, this is the horizontal table. Where is my block? This is probably my block. This is how it is kept. I hope you understand this. This is how it is kept. And I am applying one force like this and other force like this. One force like this, other like this. One force like this, other like this. This is how I understand it. I hope you also understand it the same way. This is my understanding of the question. And trust me, I have not seen this question before. I've just seen it now. So that is how I will understand this question. Do we have the answer for this one? Do we have the answer for this one? This question will make me understand, have we understood friction or not? Anyone? Anyone? I think there is a question in SC Verma where you are pressing the block against the wall. Do you remember that question? Where you are pressing the block against the block, where you are pressing the block against the wall. Do you remember? Anyone of you remember that question? It's from SC Verma, I think. Do you remember, anyone? Anyone? No one? Shall I do it for you? If you can't remember it, if you don't understand this. So basically, this block is kept on the surface. So the weight is downwards. So what is the value of normal reaction? 0.6. How did you get 0.6? I don't think the 0.6 is the answer. So there's root 2 here. Root 256. Yes, maybe 0.6. Maybe. Okay. So basically, 40 Newton is acting here. 40 Newton is acting here. So basically, this block will move like this in the direction of the effective force. That effective force will be 40 root 2. That effective force will be 40 root 2. 40 root 2, I think, is 56. So this is 56 Newtons. This is 56 Newton. Now, if it's moving like this, friction is intelligent. So friction will be opposing it like this. Now, if this force is more than the limiting friction, then this block will move. Now, we have to find the value of this limiting friction. The value of limiting friction is given by mu s into n. Now, the value of mu, I think, is 0.5. 0.5, the value of normal reaction. What is the value of normal reaction? Normal reaction is the weight of this block. So the weight of this block, what is the weight of this block? I don't know the weight of this block. So I'll call it as mg. I will call it as mg. So it must be, the weight of this block is not given. So how will I find the value of limiting friction? How did you get the answer? Weight of the block is given? No, the weight of the block is not given, right? The weight of the block is not given. Is it so? M will cancel. How will M cancel? How will M cancel? How will M cancel? This is 40 root 2. The net force is 40 root 2 minus 0.5 into M into G divided by M. How will M cancel? M is not given and you still got the answer. I think M should be given as 30 kg. The mass is not given. So if mass is given, then you can calculate it. Net force becomes 40 root 2 minus, because this will come as 50 if the mass is given as 10. So this will come as 50. I think mass was not given in the question. Misprint maybe. So then you can find out the acceleration of the block if the value of mass is given as 10 kgs. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? Value of mass must be given here. The value of mass must be given here. I guess all of you have SC Verma with you. Do you have SC Verma with you? At your home? With you? Hard copy? Yes. So there is a question in SC Verma where the block is pressed against the wall, and then the weight of the weight is acting downwards, and then you have to find the acceleration of the block, something of that nature. Please have a look at that question, solve it. Okay. Question number 22. These are the type of question that usually help us build an understanding. Find out the minimum acceleration of block A so that the 10 kg block does not fall. Huh? How is that possible? Possible? I don't think it's possible. Or is it? I have to move it so fast that the block of 10 kg does not fall. The value of mu is not given, I think. So you can give your answer in terms of mu. The value of mu is not given. So the mass is 10 kg. A ka mass is not given. Normal force is due to pseudo force. Wrong answer, Dikshit. Remember, understand. See, Dikshit, try to understand one thing in your life, that the only reason that you are studying physics is not to get an answer. The reason that you are studying physics is that you want to understand the subject. Now, pseudo force. Do you know what the meaning of the name pseudo is? It's not a real force. If it is not a real force, it cannot give any force. You said that normal force is given by the pseudo force. Is that so? Was that the exact line that you used? Normal force is due to pseudo force, sir. And I must tell you, Dikshit, that pseudo force cannot be a force because it is not a force. It's a frictional force. It's a fictional force, not a fictional force. It does not actually have any existence. Does it have any existence? Pseudo force? Anyone? What is pseudo force? I've never heard about the term pseudo force. Why is this pseudo force coming into the picture? Dikshit, what is pseudo force? I mean that due to acceleration, it experiences a normal force. Okay, I can think that this is correct. Basically, the normal force is coming because of contact, beta. Because of the contact, right? Acceleration has got nothing to do with it. It's because of the contact that they are having. Now, this contact. Now, what is happening? See, we have heard. I told you about inertial and non-inertial frames. Newton's laws are only applicable in inertial reference frame. If you want to apply Newton's law in non-inertial reference frame, they are not valid. So if you want to apply Newton's law in a non-inertial reference frame, then you have to add an additional force which does not exist, does not have any existence. That force is known as pseudo force. The value of that force is m into a, where m is the mass of the body on which you are going to apply that force, and a is the acceleration of the reference frame from which you are going to make that equation. Okay. This block accelerates because of the normal force that the khada wala block is putting on it. That is correct. That is correct. There's no doubt about it. That is correct. Pseudo force has got nothing to do with it. Okay. So how do I make the equation for this block? Just to give you a what should I say? A sense of how to make equation from different frames. I'll just make this equation. So look at what I'm doing very carefully. I hope you all know this because as Dikshit said, you have scored very good marks in JEE Main. So you must be doing. So one reference frame is here. This is my gentleman. Let me call gentleman X. Gentleman X is going to make the equation from ground. Sitting on ground, gentleman Y. Gentleman Y will sit on the top of this and then make equation. Okay. Can anyone tell me what equation gentleman X will make? Gentleman X sitting on ground. Look at the question. Find out the minimum acceleration of block A so that block does 10 kg does not fall. Make equation by gentleman A. What does gentleman A? He knows how to apply equation. He knows Newton laws of motion. Tell me, what equation does he make? What equation does he make, gentleman A? Gentleman A, force is a real thing. Gentleman A, what equation does it make? Anyone? Anyone? Sudha, Suraj, Jayant, Bhagyavati, Ashrit, Brijesh, Keshav, Dikshit, Teja. What equation this black guy, the X guy, makes? No one knows the equation? You must know it better. Maybe you know it, but you don't want to know how to express it. Okay. Now, what does this X guy see? What does the motion he sees? Two motions, because we are assuming that this is not moving along z-axis. So forget about block A. We are just concerned about block B. On block B, what forces he sees? He sees 10g downwards. But given the condition that the minimum acceleration of wave A does not fall, that means it does not accelerate, there must be something which is stopping it. And what is that something that is stopping it? That is frictional force. So thus A guy makes this equation. On the y-axis, he makes the equation Fs must be equal to 10g. Do we all agree on this equation of this black guy that he has made it? Any doubts on this one? Yes or no? We understand this equation. Fs is equal to 10g. This is made by this black guy who is standing on ground. Now, what does he see again? He sees that the block is not going downwards, but definitely it is accelerating in the forward direction. Definitely it is accelerating in the forward direction. Definitely it is accelerating in the forward direction. Yes or no? Yes or no? It is definitely accelerating in the forward direction. It is definitely accelerating in the forward direction. And then he thinks about his free body diagram. His free body diagram, it would have this normal reaction coming from somewhere. This normal reaction is coming because it is in contact with the vertical face of body A. So the only force that is going to provide it with the acceleration A, no pseudo force, acceleration A, this is what black guy thinks. Black guy writes, he writes N is equal to MA. N is equal to MA. These are the two equations that this black person writes from ground frame. Do we understand this? How I've written this equation? Do we understand this? Can I have raised hand that we understand this? So this is correct. This is how you have written the equation from the ground frame by this black person who have called X. Okay. I can solve the question from here. You can also do it. I'll try to make the equation by the red guy. What does the red guy see? Now this red guy, he also sees that, okay, this block is supposed to hang in air. That means the downward force and upward force must match. So he makes the first equation. Oops. If I'm the black guy, if I'm the red guy, I must make it with the red pen. Okay, so I'm the red guy and now I'm going to make it with the red pen. Okay, red pen. So the first equation he makes is Fs is equal to 10g. No problems with this equation. It does not see any motion in the horizontal direction. My question here is, does he see any acceleration in the forward direction for this block? No, he doesn't see, because he is on the block A, and that block A and this 10 kg are moving together. So with respect to this block, A does not go any, with respect to this block, 10 kg does not go anywhere. He does not see any acceleration. So, but he sees this normal force, this red wala normal force he sees. Normal force is there. And that is why there's a problem. There's a normal force, but he does not see any acceleration. Why he does not see any acceleration? Because he forgets that he is sitting on a non-inertial frame. And Newton's laws are not valid now. If he wants to make this Newton's law valid, he will have to apply an unknown force, a frictional force, pseudo force into the picture. And what is the magnitude of this pseudo force? Is m into A, where m happens to be the mass of this block into A. And the direction of this pseudo force should be opposite to the direction of the frame of reference, the acceleration on which he is sitting. Now he applies this force and MA. Now remember, this is a pseudo force, not an actual force. And now he sees, okay, now it is good. Forward, it is normal reaction. Backwards, it is pseudo force because of my non-inertial reference frame. I don't see any motion here. So the normal must be equal to MA. Now, these two equations, you will say, sir, what, sir? These two equations are same, sir. What's the difference, sir? There's no difference, sir. You're just making us fool, sir. No, these two equations are not equal. These equations are not same. What is the difference between the two equations? The first equation is written in this form. The first equation is written as Newton's second law of motion. F net is equal to ma. We have found out the net force and we have equated to mass into acceleration. The body is accelerating. But the second equation that I have written is of a body which is at rest. Force on the right hand side is equal to force on the left hand side. This body is in equilibrium. Are you getting my point? What is the difference between the two equations that I've written and why this difference has come? The black gentleman sees an acceleration of the block. That acceleration is provided by the normal reaction. N is equal to ma. Newton's second law of motion, F net is equal to ma. He has applied that. The gentleman who is sitting on the block does not see any acceleration. He applies a pseudo force and he sees the block in equilibrium. After this, you can easily do it. I hope you understand how to do it. Once I get to this equation, remember I have used Fs and I have not used Fl. N is equal to 10A, that is the first equation. 10G is equal to, oh, they have done it wrongly. They have done it wrongly. So how I should have done this? Okay, I hope you understand this equation. Now what will I do? I'll erase this everything and I'll tell you how to do this question. How to do this question. I'll erase this everything out. We have got the two equations and we agree on these two equations. Now how do I go about it? So how do I go about it now? Fs is equal to 10G. Fs is equal to 10G. And N is equal to 10A. From here, I have to get the value of minimum value of A. Now this Fs is less than or equal to mu s into N. This Fs is always less than or equal to mu s into N. Do we understand this? And this Fs is equal to 10G. So this 10G is less than or equal to mu s into N. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this? That is how you must write this equation. Never, because in most of the books that you see, what they will do is straight away when they see static friction, they will just put mu into N. Don't do it ever. Don't ever substitute mu into N for static friction because we don't know the value of static friction. Because static friction is an intelligent friction, it will change its value. This is how you write it. 10G is equal to mu s into N. In place of N, you can write 10A. 10 to 10 getting cancelled. A will be greater than or equal to G divided by mu s. You get an inequality, and from this inequality, you can find out the minimum acceleration because there is an inequality there. So acceleration is always greater than or equal to some value. So equal to value becomes its minimum value. Do we understand this? Whenever you have a question of static friction, you will have minimum or maximum something. Whenever you get this minimum and maximum, somehow you will get static friction from somewhere. Are you getting my point or is it getting too much for you to absorb? Do you understand how to write static friction wale question? Don't straight away write static friction is mu into N. And then whatever you get equal to N, you write the answer. You'll always get the answer. The funny part is you will get the answer, but you have missed the essence of the question. I'll move ahead. Okay, I'll leave this question. It's not likely to come. This is also not likely to come because we have done this question there. Two block problems. If you have these two block problems, and they might create a problem for you. So this is a two block problem. Find the acceleration of the two block. The system is initially at rest and the friction coefficient are as shown in the figure. नीचे वाला this is smooth, ऊपर वाला and beach wala, I mean between A and B it is 0.5, and you applied a force of 50 newtons on the upper block. You could have applied the same force on the lower block, then the answer would have been different. Is that question also here? Okay, you have the upper block wala question. I hope if you can do the upper block wala question, you should be able to do the below block wala question. Now, what are the possibilities here? What are the possibilities here? Sometimes in this question, you will find two values of mu given, mu s and mu k. If there are two values of mu given, then you have to use them differently. If it is static friction, you have to use mu s. Limiting friction, you have to use mu s. If it is kinetic friction, you have to use mu k. But in most of the cases, what you will see is they will only give you one value of mu, 0.5 or 0.6 or whatever. Then you have to understand what type of possibilities are there to solve the question. How will you solve this question? What are the basic steps of solving this question? What are the possibilities here? What can happen? There are only two possibilities, right? What are the two possibilities? What are the two possibilities? Anyone? There are two possibilities. Whether you apply force on the upper block or the lower block, there are two possibilities. What are the two possibilities? Please tell me. No one knows the two possibilities in this question. Two possibilities are there. One possibility is upper block will stay lower. What are you saying, beta? Upper block will stay with lower, and instead of saying it that way, you could have said it in a different way, beta. You could have said it. Yes, that's what Dixit is saying. Whether either they can move together as one system. That means there is no relative motion between them. There is no sliding between them. Or they can move as separate bodies. There are two things possible. Okay. Now you have to answer this. If I keep on increasing the value of f, which possibility will become more and which possibility will become less? On what factor does it depend? Whether they will move together or they will move separately. On what factor does it depend? If I keep on increasing the value of this f, what will happen? Because I have seen question in JE where they've given, I think one question where this question was given in terms of time, force was given in terms of time, and they were asked at what time the relative motion starts. They're given f is equal to 5t, something like that. JE something, some year. At what time the relative motion starts? So you just have to find out when it starts. You have to find the value of that force when it starts. So if you keep on increasing force, what will happen? At first, they will move together. Once they move together, it's very easy to find out their acceleration because both the blocks are moving as one system. The static friction between them is an internal force. It gets cancelled. F is equal to ma, m1 plus m2a. You can get the value of that acceleration for which they will move together. If they are moving together. If they are not moving together, we'll have to see the motion of this one and this one in different aspects. Am I clear? What will decide whether they will move together or not? You will have to look at this force F. If it is less than or equal to FL, what will happen? If it is less than or equal to FL, what will happen? Please tell me. If this force is less than or equal to FL, what will happen? One word answer. If this force is less than or equal to FL, what will happen? They will move combined. So first you check that. That is the first thing that you do in any question. Block downwards or block upwards. Doesn't matter. If F is less than FL, they will move together. You just apply F is equal to M1 plus M2A, get the value of A. Okay, got this? Once you get the value of A, you can make the equation for the lower block and write Fs is equal to m into a. Do we understand this? That is the easiest way of getting the value of fs. You can also apply it on the upper block. That will be f minus fs is equal to ma. Doesn't matter. So if f is less than equal to fl, they will move together. F is equal to m1 plus m2a. Get the value of a. Am I clear? Am I clear? Am I clear how to do this? Am I clear how to do this? To move together? Yes, Dikshit. And what happens if f is greater than fl? They will move separately. But now the friction is kinetic. Now the friction is kinetic and we know the value of that friction. So I can write the equation of the first block as F minus Fk is equal to Ma. Equation of upper wala block. Niche wala block, it will be Fk is equal to Ma2 because mass is capital M, A2, because both of them will have different acceleration. From which frame of reference have I made these equations? Next question. From which frame of reference is it easiest to solve this question? This one. Which frame of reference it is easiest to solve? I think it is the ground frame. So I made both the equation from the ground frame. Do we understand this? Do we understand this? How I made this equation? When they are moving separately. Upper wala block is moving with an acceleration A1 with respect to ground. Lower block is moving with an acceleration A2 with respect to ground. The only force that is moving the lower block is the kinetic friction. The force that is moving the upper block is F minus the kinetic friction. Do we all understand this? But they have different accelerations. Sir, for the second equation, what are you saying, beta? Sir, for the second equation, do we take the sum of both masses or only one? I have made the equation of mass 2, beta. Why you have to take it? I have not taken them as system. I can solve this question as a system. I don't want to confuse you. Don't want to confuse you. I am giving the simplest possible way of solving it. I can solve it as a system, but then they have different values of acceleration with respect to ground. So then you have to take different values of acceleration and then you can make the equation. Don't worry, you can do the equation. You can make the equation as one. You can take this as one system and make the equation, but then the accelerations are different. So you will have to think hard and get the values. It is not that question which I said that, I can do it in one single equation and I can get to the answer. In this question, getting them as system, in this particular question, taking them as a system had its advantages. Here, it does not have any advantage. That is why you need to solve as many problems as possible, beta. Because see, how can I tell you all this? I don't have a very sharp brain. My brain is deteriorating. I am 40 years old. I am getting older and my brain is getting weaker. But how can I give you so much ideas, so many ideas? It's not because I'm extraordinary. No, just like you. My brain is at a worse stage than you. I have done a lot of problems in my life. I've seen a lot of problems in my life. I may not recollect them exactly, but I know where I have to apply what. And that is what gives me confidence. And that is the confidence that I want to give it to you in whatever time we have. Maybe this year, or maybe some of you would be going to colleges. Some of you might think about, as me, I thought that 3000 is not a good rank for me. I again attempted and I got 1800 rank. That I think was good enough for me. Some of you might take the journey ahead. Anyways, my job is to tell you the simplest possible way of doing it. And I have done that. I hope you enjoyed this class and we had a lot of good discussion on this class. I gave you my tips, which I have learned over these years. I hope that you can use them. And if any one of you benefits from it, I will be very happy. Anyways, if you have any doubts, you can definitely, I think you must be having a group. I mean, or you can take my number from the office. I can't directly give you my number. I don't know whether it's allowed or not. So you can give me, so you can take my number from the office. I graduated from MERI Kolkata, beta. It's the most premier institute of for marine engineering in India at that time. Now it has become a university. So it is known as a maritime university now. Anyways, I'll wind off this class here. I wish you all not Jadavpur, beta, Kolkata. not Jadavpur. It was affiliated to Jadavpur University at some point in time, not with us. We were directly affiliated to the University of Surface Transport. After us, it got affiliated to Jadavpur University. Now they have their own university, Maritime University of India, MUI they call it, and they have a bunch of 8-10 big colleges for naval architecture. In our time, there was no naval architecture. It's a vast branch, it's a fascinating branch. It gives you lots of money as well. Anyway, we'll discuss more on naval engineering, naval architecture, and marine engineering when time comes. Right now, the time is for me to say goodbye, and I hope that you remain safe, healthy, and happy. I'll meet you tomorrow again, and we'll discuss the next topic, I think, which is center of mass and collisions. Let's see how many of things we can cover in the classes that we have. So up till then, take care, have a nice day, and enjoy your life, and best of luck for JEE mains for whosoever you are attempting it for. Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow. Anything else you can ask me. You can take my number from the office if you have to.